Hello and welcome to our Friday chats. Today, I'm going to give you guys three very powerful actions to take into consideration if you have metabolic disease or autoimmune disease, or really any kind of condition or illness. This is what it takes. So you'll see that the title is, This is what it takes to support yourself at home. And the truth of this statement is that there is no person but you who's going to have the power to turn this around for you. A little share about me. I'm going to give you guys two very short stories today, like 2 minutes each or less, that hopefully will inspire you to understand this on a deeper level, because people love anecdotes and love to see people, how people did things. So the first one is my own personal story, and many of you guys know it, but there's going to be people watching this video that don't know this, is that my son, I was 10 years or 12 years ago, I gave birth to a beautiful little boy who was perfect in every way, until he was almost 2, and he was still perfect in every way, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, he absolutely is. But we were fighting a nonverbal severe autism diagnosis. They've got all kinds of new terms for that. Almost 10 years ago, they didn't use all these terms where I lived anyways. And we went on this journey, especially because I worked in healthcare, where I understood that there was going to be no answer for me there. They can't support us in the way that we need to be supported with our children. And I see it all the time, and this is an area that I work really hard with, is that autistic moms feel alone and they feel disempowered. And I hope to change that in the coming future. But the idea is that I just needed this glimmer of hope in a sea of people who told me that this condition could not be changed, that there was no different outcome that could be had. I just needed that glimmer of hope of another story or a person to tell me otherwise, for me to try something that wouldn't hurt my son in any way. And I got that glimmer of hope. So if I can be that glimmer of hope for you, if you're here because you have, metabolic disease, high blood pressure, any kind of illness, truly cancer, I hope that I inspire you to take some massive action of what you can control at home. There's much of what we are going to work with physicians for, and that's an amazing thing, but it's so much of what our journey is to healing and through supporting is going to happen in our home. So for us, to fast forward my story quickly, on this journey, this is where I learned about nutrition. I became so obsessed with it and fell in love with it so deeply that I became certified in multiple, like 7 different specialties in nutrition. And we were able to see a different outcome for my son. My son does not have a diagnosis of autism at all. He speaks. We went from being told that we would be possibly he would need a caregiver, to now he is the caregiver often for his little sister. So I hope that it gives you guys a little bit of inspiration. My second story is actually for a dear friend of mine who actually, when I finally reached out to her, was living in assisted living, in a wheelchair, my age, with MS. And we connected, we talked about, and she just implemented just a few of the practices and things that I told her. And she went from being in a wheelchair to walking in 3 months to moving on. And now she lives on her own independently. And that's a beautiful thing, that these are stories that are real. This is happening to the people this can happen to the people in your life. And most of you today have met someone or know someone who has overcome an outcome that physicians, or not even just physicians, but where they were told by someone could not be overcome. So we are moving out of this stigma of what you're given, what you're dealt. So currently, lifestyle illnesses are actually exactly what they sound, lifestyle illnesses. And that means that 95% of them can have improvements with lifestyle changes. So let me tell you three nutritional things to think about, 3 nutritional actions to think about when you're going into this exploration of lifestyle changes. So the first one is actually to understand that nutritional deficiencies are probably one of the foundational issues with your condition. Why? Nutritional deficiencies are literally what help our organs run And so if you're thinking about diabetes and you're thinking about the pancreas and you're thinking about all of these things, nutritional deficiencies help those organs to work the way they're supposed to in the body. And so addressing nutritional deficiencies through either nutritional therapy, which is something that I provide, but also just to really explore the idea that we want to be eating foods that are high nutrient dense. Where do we not see foods that are high nutrient dense? So I'm going to give you guys a little tip that I give everybody, is that certain processed foods are so not only depleted in nutrients, like 0, 0, 0 nutrition factor, but they actually deplete you of your nutrients because it takes so much effort to digest them. So not only are they not good for you and not helping you in any way, but they're also making you worse because they're taking away what you already have without replenishing or giving anything. So these are things that are actually high processed in the standard American diet. So we call it the SAD diet for a reason. So standard American diet is very, very focused on processed foods, high fat, high sugar, and macronutrient marketing. What that means is that there is a lot of marketing that is done to make things appear healthy, that have a health halo around them, like a little angel, that if you eat this, it's going to be better for you. But ice cream is ice cream, and it doesn't matter in many ways what it's made from. It is still a compilation often of fat, sugar, and salt. So just to be aware of those things is sometimes just going to empower you to make a couple of different choices from a knowledge base. So nutritional deficiencies being addressed are going to help definitely your symptoms get better, 100%. Foundationally, it recalibrates your chemistry when you address nutritional deficiencies, and your body just works optimally in an ecosystem that it should. The second thing to think about is toxic exposures. Now, in lifestyle medicine, we call this risky substance abuse. People assume that, yes, it has to do with alcohol, and it can, and smoking and drugs, and that it can, but it also can be happening in your home with the products that you're using on your skin. Could be high in parabens, could be causing, which is like a hormone disruptor that actually has an estrogen, it creates estrogen dominance and can help cancer grow for some women. So be aware, not just, and that's just like one example. So be aware of these things that are maybe in your home. So detoxification and toxicity bucket overload is going to be the number 2 tip to understand what you can do at home to help to reduce symptoms. A lot of people don't realize just the cleaners that they're using are hormone disruptors. And what happens when you have a hormone disruption, you start to get some pretty interesting symptoms. It also throws your nutrition out of whack. So your nutritional deficiencies get worse. It also throws your microbiome out of whack, which is going to be, we're going to talk about that in just a second. So number 1, I'm really having a hard time with it. Number 1 is nutritional deficiencies. Number 2 is understanding your toxic load. So these are things that you can have, but you easily empower yourself at home. There are so many non-toxic substances. Become a label reader. Do not be embarrassed to take extra time at the grocery store. Now, number 3 is actually one of my favorite things to talk about, because it's what we focused on heavily when we were working with our son with his autism to get him to greater gains and milestones greater than I ever imagined. It was understanding the microbiome and having some gut restoration. And that seems like a mouthful, but there are so many problems in our world right now prevalent with gut health and lack of gut health. We want to create an environment for our microbiome to thrive, and most of it is actually found in our gut. It actually impacts our immunity, it impacts our metabolism and our hormones. And so as you can see, this is it's like a beautiful triangle of health that you can have empowerment at home. Now, there are ways to feed the microbiome. There are ways that I teach in great detail in our membership. So all of these 3 topics actually are about to have a huge amount of education in our membership, which is called the Blue Life RX Blue Lifers membership in the Blue Life RX website. So make sure to check it out down below. We are also going to be addressing the big elephant in the room, is how can I eat this food and make it taste better? So overcoming picky eating through taste training. And these are all very powerful tools to get you from point A to the point B that you're looking for, which is to more vitality and longevity. And there's no point in having too much longevity if you don't have vitality, right? So I want to make sure that you guys have some of these tools to think about today and actions to start growing on and to expand on in your thoughts and your education and your research, So those three things are extremely powerful in all illnesses, conditions, especially lifestyle and chronic illnesses. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and like and share. Have a great day.